Starting us off with number 10 are the crawl tunnels. Crawl tunnels are fun and all, but I feel like whenever I used to crawl through them, there just came a point I felt super claustrophobic and I was just like, I need to get out right now. But anyway, back in 2014, Robert Dustin Weber was visiting a Chuck E. Cheese in Englewood with his mother and 2-year-old daughter. In the indoor playground area, his daughter became friends with another 3-year-old and they started playing in the crawl tunnels, and Weber entered the tunnels with them, staying in there for 3 to 6 minutes at a time. Already sus, why would a grown man who can barely fit in the crawl tunnel stay there for 6 minutes? When they left, the girl told her father that Weber had performed sexual acts on her, and he called the police, to which he found out that Weber was a registered sex offender with a history of similar behavior. When an officer finally asked him whether he had done it or not, he simply responded by saying, "I don't think I should talk about that." He's since been sentenced to 18 years to life in prison, and it still blows my mind how this happened under everyone's nose right inside the crawl tunnels. I mean, who would have thought? Coming in at number 9 is the tire that flew through the window, which sounds like the title of a very weird children's book, I feel, but it's not. But anyway, this one happened in Merrillville, Indiana back in 2015. A 63-year-old woman was driving westbound on the US 30 when she veered off the road to the right. She drove into a ditch, then hit a telephone pole, and then hit a parked car head on in the parking lot of Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know how, but then she apparently hit another car, pushing that one into another car. The tire from her car flew off and went straight through the window of the restaurant and hit 3 children sitting inside. Like, it sounds like this woman was on a rampage, even though I know it probably wasn't intentional, but like, what the hell? One 12-year-old had wounds on his head and left arm, a 5-year-old had wounds on both arms, and another 8-year-old boy's forehead was also injured. The woman herself was unharmed, and it was later found that there was actually a medical issue that led to the crashes to begin with. I shouldn't find this funny, and I don't, but the scenario just sounds like a made-up cartoon. Like, all the events that led up to the tire flying through the window, I'm lost for words. At number 8, we have The Wrong Kid. This one's pretty short and sweet, and I'm guessing you guys will probably know what the story is going to be about from the title. In January of 2016, a man was leaving a Chuck E. Cheese in Hamilton with his child. He got about 4 to 5 steps away from the restaurant when he realized he'd picked up the wrong child. He rushed back and got his rightful child, but this is just jokes. Like, do you not look at the kid before you're picking them up? It was escalated slightly when a potential kidnapping was suspected, but it was quickly dismissed and confirmed that no children were ever in danger. It was just a dad brain fart. Filling our number 7 slot is the skee ball fight. It was only about time that this video was gonna take a ratchet turn and talk about a fight that could have ended up on worldstar.com, and here it is. This one happened in New Jersey in December 2015. A woman and her 2-year-old son were standing near the skee ball machines when another woman started playing skee ball and pushed the boy. The mother, obviously triggered, confronted the woman. The words were said, the mum pushed the other woman, who actually fell on her back onto the machine. She got up and the two started fighting until an employee and a family member broke it up. The one who fell told the police a completely different story I'm telling you right now. She said she was playing skee ball with her own son when the other woman's boy came over and tried to steal her son's skee balls, and she denied ever pushing him. She said when the boy came over for a 3rd time, that's when she pulled her own son towards her. The mother who actually started the fight had a $500 outstanding warrant against her, and she was later arrested and charged with simple assault. I mean, when a mama bear's claws come out, they really come out. Now at number 6 is Helen. This one is actually a story from an ex-employee from the esteemed establishment, so thank you Anon for that. She claims the best story from her time working there was about one customer who had fully lost touch with reality and fallen in love with Helen. And I mean, that would be all well and good, except Helen is one of the animatronics in Chucky's band, hence not a real person. The customer even bought Helen an engagement ring and was soon after banned from that restaurant, which is no real surprise. If anything, I feel bad that he wasn't able to get closure with Helen before he was banned. I mean, delusional or not, he still deserves that. Coming in at number 5 is the bathroom. I honestly hate using bathrooms at busy restaurants, especially if it's a kids restaurant, because 11 out of 10 times the bathroom will be absolutely filthy and my legs will give out from the amount of squatting I have to do just to pee. But anyway, the bathroom is not just the place for your bowels, it's also the place to do drugs, apparently. 5 years ago in Costa Mesa, California, Colin Zabrowski and Daniel Luback were arrested after police witnessed the pair inside a bathroom store at Chuck E. Cheese. A customer complained that they suspected the duo were getting high in the bathrooms, and they were indeed observed smoking heroin. Funnily enough, they actually went to Chuck E. Cheese to meet their drug supplier because apparently a family-centered restaurant is the best place to do that. Daniel and Colin were arrested, but both were subsequently released later either on bail or on promise to appear in court. Check the bathrooms when you go to Chuck E. Cheese, just please do that for me, please do that. At number 4 is Dead Chucky. This one's another story submission from an ex-employee, and I'm honestly just loving these. So this employee comes into work one day and was asked to go wake up Chucky for a birthday party, and that basically meant they would have to go and put on the suit, dance, and take some pictures. So the hardworking employee goes and puts on the suit, they do the dance, and the kids line up for the pictures. Everything is rainbows and butterflies, I know, but the problem was that the employee had a really bad cold, and the inside of the Chucky suit, as you can imagine, is so hot that they ended up fainting mid-picture and collapsing to the floor. When the employee finally regained consciousness, all the kids were screaming and crying hysterically that Chucky's dead. The employee had to be dragged by the shoulders out of the room, and they ended up ruining 3 birthday parties that day. Honestly, if that was me, I wouldn't care about ruining the parties. I would be like, you should have gotten an employee that wasn't sick to be in the suit. Like, how is this the employee's fault? It's not, let's face it. Filling our number 3 slot is The Knife Wielder. I wish I was talking about a fantasy book or movie with this one, but it was 100% more a nightmare than it was a fantasy. The setting is 2015, New Jersey, around 7 p.m. James Burgess, a retired Bergen County Sheriff officer, was going to the Chuck E. Cheese when he saw a man stumbling outside the restaurant. The man, later found to be Anthony Campagna, was holding an 8-inch knife. Burgess confronted Anthony after he entered and told him he couldn't bring a weapon inside. Then a brawl ensued, and it took Burgess along with a few other patrons struggling with Campagna to finally gain control of the knife. Burgess ended up getting injured on his right hand, and Anthony was taken to Wayne Police Headquarters and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and had a $25,000 bail. His intentions were unclear according to employees, but it was a good thing Burgess was there, otherwise who knows what could have happened. Now at number 2 is The Purse Snatcher. This one made me laugh because the kids obviously had no idea what they were doing. They probably just thought they were just playing a game, but little did they know. In Olympia, Washington, a 34-year-old man named Charles was using children to steal purses inside Chuck E. Cheese. I know, I was shook too. A slew of purses had been reported missing in the restaurant over a course of a few months, and victims said that cards were being used in Thurston and Pierce counties. After reviewing some surveillance footage, investigators found a man directing 2 young kids to steal unattended bags and bring them to him in the bathroom. A few days later, the man came into the restaurant with 3 more kids, all under the age of 10. Police was called, but the man and his kids disappeared before they got there. Thankfully, employees managed to see which car the man left in, and the police later found the car and arrested Charles for a plethora of reasons. But wow, I mean, you gotta hand it to him, that's innovative, using the kids to bring him the purses. I mean, fair enough, I don't condone it, but it is smart. And finally, at number 1 is The Parking Spot. This one was so outlandish, I literally thought it was just a false story. But it's 100% true, and honestly, parking spots cause fights all the time. In the car with your significant other when you miss one and you're both hangry, with strangers when you're both trying to go for the same one. All in all, parking spots just end relationships, let's just leave it at that. So what even happened? In LA back in 2011, 27-year-old Robert Herrera gunned down 29-year-old Daniel Villanueva because of quote-unquote beef over a parking space outside Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, I know sometimes you're desperate for a parking spot or you're in a rush, but it's literally never a logical reason to ever shoot someone multiple times over a parking space. Literally ever. Herrera and his sister actually drove away from the scene, and she ended up getting arrested later on after a TV viewer recognized her from composite drawings they had seen of the two. Robert was still sought after for previous arrest warrants, as well as this new arrest warrant for murder. Starting us off with number 10 is Chucky himself. There is something wrong with Chucky, guys. So when the animatronics are up there performing, there's an electric version of Chucky, but for a more user-friendly, child-engaging experience, there is usually an employee wearing a Chucky suit going around the restaurant as well, interacting with the kids, talking to them, making them laugh, etc. But when the store closes and the lights go off, what actually happens in there? According to the user Uberchained Films, who used to work as a night watch officer officer, he claimed that one night he heard weird sounds coming from the arcade area and he found the animatronic Chucky moving around the floor while staring at the security camera. Other employees have claimed that in some restaurants the band is actually bolted to the stage, yet they still find Chucky missing from the stage from time to time. The night watch officer quit 3 days later and has avoided Chuck E. Cheese's ever since. And to be honest, judging from his account, it looks like Chucky could very well stab you in your sleep if you're not careful. Coming in at number 9 is the ball pit. I can safely put up my hands and say I loved playing in any sort of ball pit when I was younger. Literally as soon as I'd see one, I'd make a beeline for it and just dive right in there. It's a lot of fun, that is undeniable, but as a kid you don't really think about whether what you're diving into is clean or not, or if it even gets cleaned at all. Well, according to some theories, the ball pits at Chuck E. Cheese restaurants never get cleaned ever. I'm sorry, what? What do you mean they never get cleaned ever? No, that's exactly what I mean. As a place where kids are playing in, that's a lot of bacteria and sickness getting passed around in these balls. Countless past employees have posted their ball pit poop stories on Reddit. One said there's more poop in the ball pit than you would ever expect. Well, that's just brilliant considering I didn't expect any to begin with. And another user said the ball pit is never clean. She had seen it being cleaned once, where they put all the balls into a net, then put them in the back of a truck, which was then put through a car wash. And that was about all the cleaning they were gonna get. I don't have any kids, but when I do, I feel like I'm gonna stay away from any sort of ball pit ever. I enjoyed it, but they can't. At number 8, we have the future of Chuck E. Cheese. Now, many people may not know this, but Chuck E. Cheese was initially founded by Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari. He wanted to merge the market of food and games, but then realized he was selling arcade games for $1,000 or $2, and then they would end up making the owner 15 to 20k in its lifetime. So he started Chuck E. Cheese in order to reap the benefits of his arcade games and beat out competition. Smart guy, I have to say. The idea of pizza and games was solely tailored to kids, and the animatronic band was introduced as entertainment for the parents. And a lot of people say that the band is sort of the restaurant's downfall. CEC became so focused on Chucky and the band that the game sort of took a back seat. Had this not happened though, people have theorized that Chuck E. Cheese could have been one of the best gaming and food establishments ever to exist, better than any of the game dens available to us now. But Chucky stopped that from ever being a reality and made it into the mouse-centered monster it is today. Filling our number 7 slot are the Chucky mascots. If you're lucky enough to work as a mascot for a sports team or a mascot in general, I pray that you work somewhere where they at least wash or at least dry clean your costume, because that is not the case at Chuck E. Cheese. I've read countless posts on Reddit now from ex-employees about this dreaded suit and how it never gets cleaned. Redditor Tragic Symphony said they once tried it on during their orientation and you're literally drenched in sweat by the time you take it off, so obviously the inside of the costume smells like a dead animal of some kind. Appetizing. So many of them have theorized that these suits drive employees crazy if you're the one stuck as Chucky every day of the week. And honestly, I'm not surprised. Bonjour_yo on Reddit even said once her coworker came in for his shift as Chucky, but he came in tripping on acid and then put the suit on and started throwing candy at the party in the restaurant. Whether it's the bad karma of the previous people who've been Chucky or whatever, it's no surprise that people leave this job as often as they do. And not to mention the amount of times they get hit in places that really hurt by little kids. All in all, not a great time. Now at number 6 is the playpen. Well, not really the playpen, but I didn't really know what else to call the area where the carousel and the slides are. And a lot goes down in the play area, let me tell you. And this theory claims that when your child enters a Chuck E. Cheese, they will either be directly exposed to feces and bodily fluids or drugs. Yup. At a Chuck E. Cheese in Belleville, Illinois, a child actually found a baggie with a white substance in it on the carousel, and the mother claimed the management refused to call the police over the issue and told them just to throw the baggie away. More ex-employees on Reddit have told stories about how kids have shat on the slides and crawl tubes and how it's trickled down and other kids have slid on it like they're none the wiser. Peeing inside there is a daily occurrence, and when things are busy, it takes them even more time for employees to get to it and clean it up. User I Am Infamy remembers when a kid got kicked in the face and there was a trail of blood going down the tubes that just dried up before anyone actually cleaned it. There are a lot more horror stories about more drugs and bodily fluids at Chuck E. Cheese, but I guess the moral of the story is either don't take your kids there or sanitize them thoroughly after you leave. Coming at number 5 are the arcade games. So if you've ever played a claw game where you have to maneuver the claw and grab something in order to win, you know that every time it's like you're winning, and then the claw magically loses grip and drops your prize right before you can get it. Done. Well, for every claw game, there's a yellow box that actually controls the pressure of the claw, so if you turn it left, it decreases the pressure, and turning it right increases it. And obviously, all the employees at Chuck E. Cheese know this. And of course, what do most minimum wage employees do at work? Get bored. Coming from an ex-retail employee, I second and third that statement. So the theory states that whoever is in charge of the arcade area that day always tampers with the claw just so they can be entertained when people flood in and out, getting more and more frustrated that they aren't winning anything. Sadistic, but I see the appeal. At number 4 is the sex den. Probably not the first thing you think of when you think about Chuck E. Cheese, and I honestly don't blame you, but here we go. According to Reddit's BryGuy2289, who used to work there in high school, there is in fact a sex den in every Chuck E. Cheese. There's only one room in the restaurant that doesn't have any security cameras, and that's the costume room. The costume room, or as other people know it as the sex den for employees and horny high school kids. To the point that everyone just knew it was a thing, that if they wanted to go somewhere and do it, Chuck E. Cheese was the place to go. So much so that 4 teenagers filmed a Chuck E. Cheese sex tape in this said sex den. In case you were wondering, they were wearing the costume heads and nothing else. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't take your kids to Chuck E. Cheese, I'm just saying based on this theory of the sex den, you may want to double check if anyone is going at it in their costume room before you bring your kids in there. Filling our number 3 slot is the Born and Bred Crime Attractor. That name even sounds like the name of one of the arcade games you find in there. But anyway, believe it or not, a lot of crime takes place at Chuck E. Cheese, which is pretty ironic since it's marketed as a kid-friendly, safe place. Let me summarize just some things that have happened at various Chuck E. Cheese establishments over the years. In 1993, Nathan Dunlap, a former employee, got fired and then came back to the restaurant and shot 5 of his ex-co-workers. There are so many cases of sexual assault involving kids at this place, I'm not even going to talk about one case specifically. In 2015, a woman drove her car into a ditch and their tires flew through the window of a Chuck E. Cheese, injuring 3 kids. Customers have started brawls against the employees on multiple occasions, whether that was because of a malfunctioning game or photo machine, or because they were told to keep it down. Public indecency has been a thing, and I could go on and on, but I won't. But the point is, the theory claims that because of how attractive Chuck E. Cheese is in terms of what it offers, I mean games and food, what's not to like, that it's a magnet for crime and has been since it opened and will be until it closes. So people want it shut down now because the rate of crime at these establishments is seriously increasing. And finally, at number 1 is recycled pizza. Now this is probably the most well-known theory that's come out about Chuck E. Cheese in the last few years, so I thought it rightfully took number 1. Well-known YouTuber Shane Dawson made a video about this, suggesting that employees use leftover pizza slices left on people's tables and form new pizzas with them. There is no evidence of this except a picture of a full-served pizza showing the slices not making a uniform circle, and in fact having a lot of disparity in terms of where the crust lines up. The restaurant chain has responded to these claims, obviously denying them, and even past employees have jumped in to help and also claimed that the slices aren't recycled. Despite all that, more and more people are posting pictures of their uneven pizzas when they go there and continuously adding more spark to the fire. What do you guys think? Recycled pizza or completely freshly made?
So starting this list off, in at number 10 we have the creepy animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, apparently these animatronics are scarier than their recycled pizza. The Munch's Make-Believe Band is a group of robots that have been a showstopper at Chuck E. Cheese restaurants since 1989. I didn't know it went back that long.
Come on and sing along with song title. You never can go wrong with song title.
So if you want one last scare, you might need to visit Chuck E. Cheese sooner than later, because the company has actually decided to get rid of them for good. Well, you know what, that's probably a smart strategy. Also fix the pizza situation going on there. And I mean, I know that these animatronics have been tormenting and scaring the lives of children for decades, but the company plans on replacing them with updated robots, and you know what, I'm not even mad at that. Climbing up this list, in at number 9 we have E.T.'s friend. If you thought E.T. was scary, I think he was scary when I was younger. Well, you haven't seen anything yet. At Universal Orlando Resort, I dare you to go on the E.T. Adventure ride. ride. Although it's marketed towards children, I guarantee you that you're gonna be freaked out when you're flying by E.T.'s friend. Well, here's a little preview. Well, I've come to accept E.T., but I don't know if I can come to accept his friend. I don't know if I get on board with that one. They're way too terrifying, and to be honest with you guys, they're really creepy, so let's move on. Let's see what else we have on this list. The Little Mermaid swims onto this list at number 8. Disneyland is known for their fully immersive rides and really immersive set designs, but some of their rides are more creepy than magical. Take for example the Little Mermaid ride. The ride follows Ariel through 3 acts, starting with Ariel's world under the sea and goes all the way to the royal wedding celebration, but the Ursula animatronic is what we're talking about right now. She is 7 foot tall, 12 feet wide. Not only does she move super realistically, but sometimes she might even lose her head. Well, take a look at what the heck I'm talking about. Okay, what a poor and unfortunate soul. That was pretty traumatizing if you were a kid and you saw that. Jumping into number 7, we have Jaws. The former Jaws ride at Universal Studios Florida operated for almost 2 decades before it was shut down in 2012 to make way for the wizarding world of Harry Potter, of course. But for those guests who were lucky enough to get onto this ride, they know firsthand how terrifying it would have been to be pursued by a giant great white shark. If you have an irrational fear of sharks, this next clip definitely won't help you guys. Up next, and at number 6, we have the entire It's a Small World, well, the ride. It's one of the most annoying rides. Imagine getting stuck on that. Okay, no, seriously, why is this ride so creepy? I swear the only reason why this ride was created was that parents could force their misbehaved kids to go on it and listen to the song play over and over and over. It almost feels like sometimes this ride is not going to end, and it causes these kids to go insane. Does anyone else find the song to be extremely annoying? Like, not the song itself, but the song played 50 times over and over. And I know it's one of Disney's most iconic rides, but I could definitely do without this one. Actually, my life would feel a lot more complete if they just replaced this ride with something else less annoying. Pennywise takes us into our number 5 spot. I'm sure you all know who Pennywise is by now, but in case you repressed all your memories because he scared the hell out of you guys, well, let me refresh your memory. Pennywise is the main antagonist from It, and he can disguise himself as the victim's worst fear, and then he will feed onto their souls. Now that we're all caught up, well, let's take a look at the scary Pennywise animatronic. Is this real life right now? Is that Georgie with one arm? This Halloween store definitely took things way too far in my opinion, but wait, there's more. You can even hear Georgie scream out in pain. Listen to this. Okay, that's too much, even for me. Let's move on. From Georgie to the Laughing Sal jumps in at number 4. This is a 6 foot tall animatronic that was built primarily to attract carnival and amusement park customers into fun houses and dark rides. But I don't know who the heck would want to come face to face with this thing. Her laugh is the creepiest thing I've ever heard. I'm almost 30 years old and this thing still creeps me out. We need to douse her in some holy water and say some prayers because this thing must be possessed. Number 3, the Ronald McDonald animatronic show. Ronald McDonald is creepy enough as it is, and I don't know why. It's the whole clown thing and who's under the mask. Well, we definitely don't need an animatronic version of him. I bet those McDonald's that had this animatronic saw a heavy dip in sales because people would purposely avoid getting their Big Macs from that location because you have to go through him first. And honestly, I don't blame them. They probably betrayed McDonald's and went to the nearest Burger King instead.
Different than the ones we've had before.
You should be happy that I only showed you a small clip because this thing is Pretty creepy. Apparently there was a button that you can push and he would just constantly sing and dance. Thankfully there aren't any more of these creepy Ronald McDonalds, and for that I think the world is a better and safer place. Bringing us into number 2, we have this creepy clown. Is this real life right now? This is not okay. How does something like this actually exist? I don't know. You know what we should do? We should petition this to have this thing burned down immediately. Let's not waste any time here. I honestly don't know what kid would want to see this thing in person. If you didn't have a fear of clowns before, well, you probably do now. I couldn't find a video of this clown in action, and you know what? I'm actually pretty glad about that. You're welcome. So now you don't have to face the fact that I almost traumatized you with that one. So from there, let's move on to the original Chuck E. Cheese animatronic doll. So this tops our list in at number 1. We've seen real life looking sharks, we've seen some E.T.'s creepy friends, but none of that will prepare you for this Chuck E. Cheese robotic doll. You can't say that I didn't warn you. Whoever made this thing must have hated children. I literally feel like he's looking right into my soul. Kids probably used to hide underneath the tables when the lights turned off because they wouldn't dare look into his eyes. Nothing good ever came from watching this performance. Mostly just nightmares.